AM 1460, the new WXBR. Peter Zimborn, Mike Pava here with you now on a Thursday morning, and as has been the case all week, during the 7 o'clock hour here of the Metro South Morning Show, we've been chatting in studio with different candidates for Brockton Council-At-Large, and joining us in studio this morning is Ms. Shaynah Barnes. Shaynah, good morning, and thank you for coming into the studio today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Shaynah, what made you want to decide to run for Brockton City Council at Large, and what is your experience in politics and government which leads you to believe that you'd be a good fit for the seat?
Well, actually, I currently work for Congressman Stephen Lynch, and in that position, I'm able to be a little bit more involved and become a little more familiar with city politics, state politics, and local things in general. And growing up here in the city, I've seen the city change, and the demographic has changed. We are now a majority-minority city, and I feel that the leadership needs to reflect that. I feel that I could be someone that people could come to and feel that any kind of needs or any kind of concerns they may have will be heard. And I feel that I have the credibility and the knowledge, and I've garnered enough professional relationships that I think I'll be able to get things done and to help the current council work and just give them a little different perspective on how to address some of their issues. And I think that might have kind of addressed both of your questions. What kind of political experience have I had? I mean, like I said, I've definitely become a lot more involved. I've attended the city council meetings. I attend a lot of other task forces that I've been on, and just other things in the city, and just becoming a little bit more involved and seeing how maybe some of the things that are of concern to me and some of the ideas that I have, they're not just unique to me. They may also be expressed or may be felt by some of the other people that may not quite have a voice. And I feel that I can be that person to give them that voice. Now,
is this your first time for running anything on the city level?
Technically, yes. I actually currently serve as the Ward 5 and the Executive Committee recording secretary for the Brockton Democratic City Committee. So we were on the ballot. We had to be elected for that. So we were on the ballot in 2008 for that. But it wasn't really like a campaign kind of situation.
Sure.
I just needed to be on the ballot to be on the committee.
Now, what are some of the pressing issues that you think that you would like to speak of heading into this general election in early November?
Well, the issue is this. There are a lot of issues that we have going on here. They're not insurmountable issues, I think. I think there are solutions for them. It does take a little bit of time. So it's difficult for me actually to prioritize what would be germane or paramount, other than another or opposed to another. Because, for instance, if you've not, felt the sting of a foreclosure, that may not be something that would be of great importance to you. If you may have had a loved one that was touched by violence, that might be something that might be very important to you. So all of these issues that we are facing, just as a city, we're 100,000 plus people. So there are the different things that are going on that have been brought to light recently, and that the current council and the current leadership that they have been working on for years now. All of those issues are important, and those are the things, like I said, I would definitely try to use my experience, use my knowledge, use my resources to try to help them out with that.
Well, let's talk about one of the two issues which you just mentioned. That would be violence within the city. What can be done to curb violence in the city? Because there's been plenty of headlines made lately due to some unspeakable acts of violence happening in Brockton.
Right. The acts of Brockton, the acts of violence in Brockton, it's mirroring what's going on around the country. We are not unique to any other place in the country. There are other cities that have far more instances of crime than we have. And actually, it was mentioned. Actually, I was someplace yesterday, and somebody mentioned something about the crime rate increasing in Bridgewater. And so we're an evolving city. People come in and out. We're transient. We have people that maybe stay, and those kinds of things like that. It just leads to motive and opportunity. That's pretty much what a lot of the crime has to do with. So I think a lot of what the police are doing, what the current mayor's office is doing, I think that they are on the right track. The police station and the police department, they get state funding. They get different kinds of tactical resources that they use, and I mean, they're a pilot in the state for other police stations to model after, and how they do their technical works. I mean, I don't know anything specifically about that, but I think they're on the right track. And I think a way that we as citizens can do something is if we see something, we need to report it. If we know something, we need to say something. We need to stop this culture of, I'm not going to tell, I'm not going to this, I'm not going to that. We have to stand up. We also have to become more involved with Officer Bill Healy at the police station. He's the leader of the Crime Watch program that we have here. If every street, every neighborhood, maybe even every 2 streets had a crime watch or had people that were vigilant and making sure that they watched out and that they were accountable to their neighbors and their friends, we could definitely do something with the crime. That's all crime is. It's motive and it's opportunity. So if you have someone that's not looking, or you have someone that might be in an area where the door is unlocked or something like that, or someone isn't paying attention, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but this is important. We also have to be aware as well. We have to keep ourselves safe. We have to also not kind of just think that we're, in a Mayberry situation. We are in a city. We are in a progressive city. We're in a growing city. And the people that come in here, there are a lot of people that come to Brockton, that move to Brockton because of the resources, the education, all of these other things that we have. And they may not, feel comfortable. They may bring a certain kind of element with them. We have to also be very vigilant. So I say all that to say, we also need to take an active role in keeping our community safe.
Let's talk about another hot-button issue in the city, and that's the proposed power plant in Brockton. Which side do you fall on? Do you oppose the power plant? Are you for the power plant, and why?
I have, from the beginning, even when it wasn't, an issue for me to have a position, I am against the power plant. I don't feel that it's right for the city. I don't feel that the money that they promised that would come in, it wouldn't be enough, I think, to sell our soul. The EPA and several other state agencies have done several environmental testing projects down there. And actually just recently, and I don't know them all specifically, so forgive me for that, but just recently they just did, it was either an air quality or a ground quality test, and it was already over the max that the state would allow. Whatever the elements that were in that area, it was already over the max. So having a monstrosity like that in that close-knit area would just exhaust that area, I think, a little bit too much, and wouldn't be something that would be able to be sustainable. And the jobs that they're promising, for people that would be there, I've heard there's only about 5 to 12 full-time jobs after the plant was built. And nobody's to say that they would go to Brockton residents. And the problem I also have is just recently, a few years ago, there was a gas plant just like that one that's proposed for here in Middleton, Connecticut, that blew up. And it devastated that entire area, and it was on an open field. So, and that was human error. And that's actually what the proponents of the power plant are saying. It was human error. Okay, well, we're all human here in Brockton too. So these people that you have working there, they could also, fall victim to human error. If something like that were to happen in that area with the school, with the neighbors, with the elderly area, the elderly developments, housing developments in that area, it would devastate that area and also mushroom cloud out into probably city center, and even going down to the east side and probably over to the Bridgewater. So it's not right. There's nothing there that we would garner from it. The energy that would come from it, it would get sold off to other communities. We wouldn't even make money off of that. And, the technology is ancient. We're moving towards green things. We're moving towards, the windmill and harnessing the natural energy. Not that. It's just not right.
Once again, we're chatting with Councilor-At-Large candidate in the city of Brockton, Shaynah Barnes, here on AM 1460, the new WXBR. Another hot-button issue in regards to this election coming up November 5th, not just with the Council-At-Large candidates, but mayoral and so forth, has been the city's agreement and deal they have in place with the Aquaria desalination plan. The deal, as it stands currently, to my understanding, is the city is spending in excess of $6 million per year to the Aquaria desal plant in exchange for little to no water and really no financial return. There's been some debate amongst candidates who are vying for different city positions right now on whether or not the city can break their contract with the Aquaria desal plant, if they're in breach or not in breach of their contract. Have you looked into this, and how do you feel?
Actually, I have actually spoken to several people, and people that with authority, that have had intimate knowledge with the contract and have read it through. I'm not a lawyer, so I wasn't able to really kind of decipher or interpret what it was saying. But as I understand it, there were a lot of pieces that go along with that need to be looked at and need to be investigated a little bit more. So I at this particular time, I'm not comfortable in giving a position on that. I would need a little bit more intimate knowledge, a little bit more research. It's just very tertiary right now that I've had, being on the outside. So,
being involved in budgetary issues with the city of Brockton, that's something you feel comfortable with moving forward if you, in fact, get a seat for Council-At-Large? I
do. When I'm elected, I definitely feel that I could be able to interpret the budget. I had a meeting with our CFO, Mr. Condon, and we spoke for an hour, or maybe an hour, 15 minutes or so, and he went through the budget and went through some of the issues. And I asked him, flat out, what does the non-tax group, No More Taxing Hikes group, and some of these other groups that have come up and presented their positions at some of the budget meetings with the city council, how he interprets that and how their questions, how what they want fits into what he can in all good faith do, and things that are available to the city. So, and he was able to explain it out, and I mean, we had charts and everything. He made a little chart for me and a cheat sheet, and he showed me, what the council gets, what they vote on, what they look at. And I've also actually spoken with several councilors as well to get their opinion and get their reasoning on how they look at it. However, ultimately, when it breaks down, when it cuts down to it, I will have to make the decision for what I think is right, and that is what I feel that I would do. My integrity would have to be paramount over kind of what goes on in there, and I personally think that, like I said, I'm not that unique from anyone else. I think that what I think is right, a lot of people also feel that way, and also taking into account the concerns of the constituents. But I would definitely vote my conscience.
The quote unquote revitalization of Brockton has been a term that's been batted about since as long as I can remember, at least. With the Trinity Project coming in, what else can be brought in, if any, to help revitalize downtown Brockton?
It's funny that you say that. Actually, just this morning, I took a tour of the model house, or the model apartment for the lofts in the Knight building. And Jason Korb and his construction company, his investment company, they took a huge risk, a huge gamble, in making sure that that project would be something that would be sustainable here in Brockton, be something that people would like and that people would really want to buy into. It's a 25-unit apartment complex right on Montello Street. It's the old Knight building. And I was there for the groundbreaking in January, and then he invited us back today to kind of just check in to see where they are. They have 800 applications for 25 units. So it's definitely something that people are wanting, and that's what begins, I think, the revitalization. It gets people back. You can have all the plans and everything that you want and have the schematics and, the graphs and the charts that you want. If you don't have the people to come back in and the people to actually co-sign onto your idea and to buy in, it's nothing. So, like I said, they have the affordable income, they have moderate income, and then they have the market rate apartments, and they are excellent. I was just walking. There's one in particular that I want. It's a little corner one up on the top, but I didn't put my application in, so I'll just have to wait. But it's things like that. That in addition to the Trinity, and Trinity will be right across the street when they come here, with their millions of dollar investment that is coming into the city. I think the mayor is doing an excellent job in soliciting businesses to come back into the city and architecture companies and construction companies to start rebuilding and to start revitalizing, like you said, the area. And honestly, that is the only word that you can use. It is revitalization, because that Knight building, that's been there for years. And he stripped the whole thing out, and they left a lot of the historical significance to it as well. So you can still see the old, but it's traditional and it's modern, and it's also very vintage. And that's what makes it, it was really nice. It was really impressive. In addition to that, on the south side the other day, last week, the Attorney General Martha Coakley came, and she came to kick off some funding or make an announcement about the funding that her office and that the state had awarded to Brockton to fund, okay, I always get this mixed up, the distressed properties identification and revitalization through the BRA. They have identified and hired a person that will be able to go out into the community to identify some properties that could be targeted for a restoration or some kind of renovation projects. And she came, and there were 2 homes in particular on Larston Street, and they had a huge kind of walkthrough of these homes, and these homes were left completely dilapidated. And they were able to gut them all out, put in all new floors, all new closets. They just changed the whole thing, and they made them brand new homes. And I believe one of them is under agreement, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to speak out of turn, but that's just kind of builds on what I said. We're getting the money to be able to do this. The state has confidence in the community of Brockton to be able to have the resources to do this, and to also, like I said, get people to believe it, get people to buy into it. And when the people come, if you build it, they will come. It is very true, and we're doing that. We're building things. We're soliciting businesses. There are some tax incentives available to some of the businesses that have come. That some of them have taken advantage of it. Bernardi took advantage of one of the tax incentives that we had, and several others. So it takes time. It just takes time, and I think that we're in a position to do that. Like I said, and I think the state and also the federal government that releases money, they have confidence that we can do that.
What do you think separates you from the other candidates vying for this council-at-large seats?
Well, at this particular point, I'm the only female. So that's number one. And like I said, I think I have developed enough professional relationships in the political arena, in social service arena, in private sector. I think I've developed those relationships to be able, like I said, to have that credibility and to be able to maybe make that connection, with the leadership of the city, with maybe some other kind of company or some other kind of organization or something of that nature. A couple of friends of mine, actually, we were talking about, doing a program, this was years ago, and I remember every time they mentioned something, I was just like, well, I know somebody that does that. I know somebody that does that. I know somebody that does that. And that started getting me thinking too. I really have an extensive network of resources, and I would like to use it in the city. Why would I just have this and not use it and not use it for someone else? That's what public service is. It's using what you have to help other people. And I think I definitely can do that. And in addition to being a woman of color, at that would, when I'm elected, I would be the first woman of color to serve on the Brockton City Council. And that's an amazing feat. Councilor Stewart was the first male African-American to serve. And I think that, like I said, that the city is changing. The people that are here, they're changing. You can look at it anywhere. I think we're 52 to 54% persons of color here in the community, and our council needs to represent that. It absolutely does. But in addition to that, not only would I be a person of the people of color, I would be a person of all people that are here. Everybody has their own little, their niche, their little community. And again, like I said, I think I have garnered that credibility and that respect from the people in the community, that they trust me, they trust my judgment, and I think I'm very credible and will be able to serve with distinction and dignity.
In the preliminary, you did quite well. Obviously, you were part of the field from 15 to 8 that got narrowed down for this general election. Right. A lot of people running their first campaign, which you are doing for all intents and purposes, don't tend to do quite so well their first time around. It takes name recognition over a few years and whatnot. Why do you think you did so well?
I think it's just, not to, repeat myself, but I think it's just kind of what I just said, the relationships that I've built in the community. And as I was going out and door knocking, and we were, sign holding and meeting folks, the feedback was, oh yeah, I've seen you out at this thing. I've seen you here. I've seen you there. I've seen you're involved in this. You're involved in that. And like I said, when I first started working at my current job, almost 7 years ago now, actually, I got involved just so that I could be able to, just figure things out and kind of lay my or lay the groundwork to be able to know who I needed to know. But then as I, became more comfortable and figured the landscape, I started getting involved in other kinds of things on my own time. Just going to these, like I said, going to these meetings, getting more educated, getting more information on what's going on in my city. I don't want to be ignorant in my own city and having things happen around me and having other people make decisions for me when I'm perfectly capable of doing that myself. And the only way to do that is to become educated, is to become, an educated voter, to become an educated spokesperson for any kind of particular thing. And I made sure that I got myself involved. And to be honest, that's still what the feedback is that people say they've seen me here, they've seen me there, I'm involved in this, I'm involved in that. A lot of things that I am involved in, are some of them are through my position, through my job. So I'm not, saying exactly what they are, because I definitely want to keep that separate, because I want people also to know that I'm not relying on my current position. I am running in this race independent. I have my own mind. I am doing this of my own volition. The only thing I did with regard to my job was to ask permission to make sure that it wasn't an ethics violation. But I made sure that I'm running this on what I have done and what I feel I can bring to the table. That's the current council, and whomever else gets the other seats.
We're coming up against a local news break, but before I let you go, Shaynah, any final words for our listeners? This is your time to say to our listeners what you would like to say this morning.
Well, first, I'd like to thank you so much, and XBR, for allowing me to come and just chat with you. I definitely think that, like I said, Brockton is changing, and your leadership also needs to reflect who you are as a people. I've been out in the community, I've been speaking with people, and the feedback is that people have faith in what I can do. They have faith in my ability. They have faith in my credibility. And I definitely would never want to, besmirch that for anything. I feel that I can take that with me into the council and bring that new, fresh perspective that they may not have ever had. And I feel that I could be someone that people could come to. They come to me now, with their issues. And I try my best to get things done for them. And I feel that I would continue to do that in that position as well. And, there are, like you said, I thank everyone for voting for me and putting me fifth out of the field of 15, and being, speaking. The people spoke, and the voice of the people was that they want change, and I feel I'm a part of that change. And with the current field of candidates that are here now, there are 8 of us, and I encourage, first of all, people to get out and vote November 5th. Just get out and vote. Let your voice be heard. Don't let people make decisions for you. You go out and make your own decision, and you vote. And I am actually I believe I will be number 3 again on the ballot. I was number 3 last time, and just keep that going. Shaynah Marie Barnes, and I'll just say, of the 8 of us that are left, you feel free to use your other 3 votes for any of the other gentlemen, but you make sure that you leave 1 of your votes for me, Shaynah Barnes. Thank you.
That is Shaynah Barnes, Councilor-At-Large candidate in Brockton, joining us here on AM 1460, the new WXBR. We'll step aside for a quick break. Mike Paver brings local news updates. Stick with us.